Hey there, folks. So, last episode we did some refactoring of our load game logic just to correctly handle some bugs I had created by using the wrong spawn actor logic. Also, we went through and had to make some tweaks to account for the fact that we have two different parent actor classes that are going to be used for the derived parent class. We cleaned that up, and then also we went through and just did some general refactoring and got things for our logs to save properly. This episode, I want to go through and just finish up the last of the base classes we had created previously, and that's our harvest actor. And this is to represent things like, say, a tree. You can harvest the apples off, things like that. Well, a tree is not the best example because that's regrowing, but you guys understand the intention there. So with that, we do have a couple of changes we need to get started with. The first one is going to be in our harvest actor header file. I'm going to open that up. We do need to go through and actually define a few things here. Looks like I'd already started and forgot to undo a change here. So the first thing, are we in the harvest actor? Oh, it's the pickup actor. That's why I'm looking at the wrong base class. Okay. So with that, first thing we want to do is we need to add in a new function. Well, actually, the first thing we need to do is create the constructor, because that, if you notice, is missing. So we're going to create that. Now, because this harvest actor base class is the parent class for our regrowing harvest actor base class, we do need to make the constructor at least protected, if not public. And the reason we need the constructor is because we do have a couple of things we need to create the default object for. So the permanent mesh and the harvest mesh. So we're going to start off with that. So with that, the first thing we're going to want to add in here is, sorry, looking at my notes, harvest mesh equals create default subobject. That is a use static mesh component. Text. And we want this to be harvest mesh. We also, actually we're going to do this in order. That's permanent mesh equals create default subobject, use static mesh component, use the right close, text, permanent mesh. Now we do need to attach these, so we can. So we had the issue with the tree that we had the stump and the tree both parented or attached to the root component, and we can't do that. But what we can do though is the permanent mesh, set up attachment. We can set that to the root component, and then the harvest mesh, we can set up the attachment on that to the permanent mesh. Pretty much the same thing we did for the tree. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to actually move this particular bit of logic here into its own function. And the reason being for that is we want to be able to do this behavior and a couple other things we need to do as part of the load game process. So we do need to create a new function there. This one is going to be, I'm trying to think, do we need this to be public or protected? Protected, because we're, again, the regrowing class is going to use that. So we want to do void, which we call this update harvest state. Just wait for IntelliSense. There we go. Create a definition. So we're going to want the harvest mesh be hidden in game. Actually, cut that, not copy it. So we want to hide the mesh, but we also want to set collision enabled, collision enabled, no collision, query only. No, we want no collision. That we need to, this is going to actually mean we need to do a little bit of work in the player character, because this is going to also stop the ray trace, which is more than likely going to cause problems, but we'll do that in a second here, and I'll show you what that's going to cause. And we actually just want to call that here. So now, as I had mentioned in a previous episode, I hate how it auto tabs things for you. In a previous episode, this little commented section of code here, that is for when we get to the inventory component of things, which is going to be started in the next episode. I said that a few times. I promise once we get everything cleaned up in this episode, episode 20 is going to be the inventory component. All right. Is interactable. That's correct. Just trying to think what else we have in here that might be needed. Actually, we do need the same thing we had for the tree as well. That is mark component render state dirty. What that's going to do, and this is again the same thing we had with the tree, is it's going to cause the engine to force a re-render to make sure that the harvest mesh is actually turned invisible. And the reason for this particular set collision, no collision, is, for example, let's say you have, I'll use the example I'll be showing in the engine, a mushroom. And you want the mushroom to block collision initially, but once you harvest it, obviously you don't want it to block collision. So you need this in here to hide the collision or turn the collision off. We can actually simplify this here, and this can just be a case of return the opposite of whatever the harvest state is. And just to explain, so we have, again using the mushroom, once the mushroom has been picked, B is harvested is going to be set to true. So we want it to return the opposite of whatever it is. So if it's being picked, it's going to return a false value here. And if it hasn't been picked, it's going to return a true value. Now, we do also want to add in, I know because let's open this up, your parent of the TF actor, but we do want to add in our save interface when we want to override these. Don't need those two. Do need those two. Do we have those update from save already? No, we don't. Oh, right. So, and this is where I was talking about where we needed to add that new function in for the update harvest state. So we're going to add this in here. And though realistically we don't need to add this in now, I'm again suspecting further down the line with the series, we're going to need to start doing some custom save data for this. And actually, I'm going to put a custom constructor in for this. So right now, there is no generic constructor where these values are set. So we just want to go f save actor data constructor. That is the default one. We need to add those in there because otherwise it's going to complain. And then we want to do another one of these where we can just pass everything through, because you've seen in, let's actually go to the actor class just quickly to show you. We have this here where we're assigning a bunch of information. Not sure why that's undefined. That's just an IntelliSense error. Sorry. And we're in the save actor. So we want to add in f const f transform actor trans a const bool reference was spawned. If you notice, I'm using a slightly different casing or spelling depending, and that is just so it's easy to differentiate. U class. Actually, we want a const U class reference. I cannot spell today. U actor. No, actor class. And then actor transform equals actor trans was spawned equals was spawned, and actor class equals actor class. Oh, it's because we're using references, yeah, versus a pointer. And that can't be a const, so there we go. Okay, so that is just a default constructor here where everything is going to be uninitialized. And this is going to be one where we can pass in some information to populate the few basic bits of information. So now we've done that, we're going to go back to our harvest actor. And we're going to get actor transform was spawned, and this get class. That should be everything we need there. So that just pre-populates it with the default information. Yeah, so I'm going to actually go through, and it'll be between episodes. I'm going to do this same logic here for all of the other implementations like we've done with the in the TF actor, just to clean that up. And then here, when we call update from save implementation, we want to call the update harvest state function. All right. Now, there was one thing I noticed, and this is actually going to cause some problems with blueprints down the line, but it's actually with the interfaces we've created. And this is, again, something I noticed while I was going through in my between episode troubleshooting, debugging, just general QA. Our interfaces, I didn't actually fully create these properly. So down here, you can see on the save interface, virtual. That one's not virtual, so we need to make this one a virtual one. And the reason being is it doesn't allow you to override it if it's not virtual. And that was if, for anyone who remembers, in the tree episode, the update from save was being weird. And that's why. So we now have these fixed here. However, that also actually extended to our interaction interface. Now, this is something you could see happening every now and again as you're going through with your development, because you're going to be working and they were functioning. Everything worked. It's just we weren't hitting the overrides because of this. And you could see this well, I can see this happening at various different points through the development process for many different projects, because without the virtual, everything still works. But it was using, let me get to the source file, these default ones if there wasn't a blueprint variant. I actually dug into the whole, let me pull up one of the references, this whole execute. And this is a change that was made with, I can't remember which version, I think it was actually 5.3, I may be completely wrong. It was a change that was made to basically call this one function and then let the back-end code decide which of these is going to be used, the C++ or the blueprint. Now, unfortunately, it defaults to the blueprint if it's present. So, I personally don't like that. However, that is how Epic decided to move forward with that. So that does mean we do have a couple of other functions we need to fix as we go through a few things. go to our stat line compile. Well, actually, I'm just going to work the way up here. Stat line implement stuff. They are down here. And which ones do we need to change? Don't need to do any in there. Tree base. Well, they got the override. So yeah, that basically means these override functions are now working. So now we've looked at tree base. Let's look at the source file quickly. So actually here, I'm going to just fix this here. So you don't have to include this get actor transform. You can just use the get actor transform. That was a force of habit. Whenever I write code, I tend to do that, even though I really shouldn't. And then get class. Because you'll notice, I'm actually saying that, if we take a quick look at, I closed out of it. I wrote that here. Because we are not dealing with a situation where we're concerned about multiple variables having, or multiple sources for that, it's not that big of an issue. So anyway, so I fixed that here in tree base, so we don't need that. Take damage, that's good there. That was the tree base header we were looking at. Haven't touched that one. Player character. Data interaction test, those. It's got the save function, but we're not the save interface, but that's because it's derived from the TF character. Gonna work? Yep. So just add those overrides in there. And for those who don't know, as I say, I'm not trying to teach C++, but what the override does is it says use this class's definition of the get interaction text instead of its parent class, or in this case, instead of the definition within the interface. Harvest actor base, so we can do that here. Override, and I'm actually going to just copy that with the space so I can do this easily. Give it a second to make sure there's no errors there. Okay, door base. TF character. Nope, go far enough over. And then TF actor. With that, let's do a quick build. Now, while this is building, I will quickly run through something. Between episodes, so between episode 18 and 19, I have actually upgraded to Unreal Engine 5.4.3. I have noticed builds are a little slower after doing that. I have also went through and I actually ended up installing the additional library references for the Unreal Engine, just because I found with my debugging, it was getting to a couple of places where it didn't have the libraries or the PDB files, to be specific, that it needed to actually do a full debug. So with that, it has, like I said, it's caused Unreal Engine and Visual Studio to run a little slower for me. That's why I hadn't installed them to start with. I was hoping I could get away with not needing them. But installing those libraries and then upgrading. I don't know if it's the upgrade to 5.4.3 that caused it, but builds are a little slower as well as live codes are a little slower. With that though, I'm going to pause the recording and I will be back once the editor is actually up and running. All right, folks, so we're back in the editor. In here, I was just playing around again with my debugging between episodes. So just wanted to add some extra trees, make sure everything was working there. We have our mushroom on the floor there. I'm just going to quickly open up the blueprints for these, because we did add in some blueprint level functionality that we don't really need. So open up the wrong side. So I'm going to start with the door. Actually, I'm going to open all of these up. The log, as you can see, we have an error. Nothing there. And the tree update from. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to compile and save the tree. Hopefully nothing errors there. Log pickup. Don't think we added anything in there. I think we're good. Compile and save. Close that out. Harvest test 2. Compile and save. And our door base. All right. So that all looks good there. I'm just going to quickly go through, make sure everything's working in game. I'm pretty sure we're going to have an issue with the HUD and the text. So let's go try on the door because that one's easy to tell. So opening, it's closing. Okay, that one works. We don't have anything with the tree, but we do have with the logs. So, okay, they spawn. Pickup log. We don't have the pickup behavior enabled there yet. They're spawning. They're spawning. All right, they're good. Let's do a quick save and a load. I think there's a breakpoint from a couple episodes ago I hadn't used. Continue. Oh, have I hit something that's not working? All right, things seem to have locked up a little bit. I'm going to pause and I will be back as soon as this frees itself up. All right, and just after I paused, it freed up. So this is one of the errors I was actually expecting. So we have, and one of the reasons why I actually threw the additional libraries in there and symbol files is we've got a bug being thrown in a much deeper section of the code, profiling and debugging. Stack Overflow. Any information on this one? No. So I fully expect this is going to be down to one of our blueprints. So I'm going to close out of that. I'm going to take a quick look at all of our source files because I'm pretty sure we are probably pointing to a function that isn't getting. I don't need the property window. We're pointing to a function that isn't being called properly. So I'm just going to open up all of our source files here and take a quick look through all of them. And it was specifically around the loading that this broke, so. Don't actually need the interface files. Don't need the save game. I'm going to leave the game instance pinned because we're going to want to add a breakpoint. Excuse me. Actually, I don't need to leave it pinned, but we do want to leave it. Let's go to our load game, and I'm just going to throw in a breakpoint there. Statline component, well, we're good there. Tree base, okay. Make sure we're not calling anything we shouldn't be. Set harvest state, harvest, spawn pickup, on harvest implementation, that's good. Save data, we're returning that. Update from save, set harvest state, because this is where we hit that breakpoint. But it was immediately after this we had the error, so it might actually be, oh, we haven't done anything with that function of that class. I'm going to safely say it's not that. Pickup actor, and you can see here's where we don't have anything for the interaction on the logs. Pickup actors are always going to be interactable. That's why we've got a true there. I think it's going to be around one of these. The get interaction text. No, because this is unload. What am I saying? Harvest actor, update from save, update harvest. I got stat. I need to fix that. That is going to drive me crazy. Which means I need to fix this one. Save all of those. Close out of U and close out of U. Door. Execute interact. Yeah, so this one is just saying if we're here we go. I think this might be it. I think we have no, maybe not. I'll say I think we might have a no, that's the interaction. That's not the loading. It's going to be one of the save. Here we go. What is going to happen here is that is probably causing some duplicate behavior, like an infinite loop, because we're calling this, it's going back, and it's okay, call this, going back, calling this. And that's why I personally dislike how they've changed the interface behavior there, where it's execute the function, because that it doesn't give the developer the control over which method. I would personally rather have to specifically say I want to call the C++ version or the blueprint version than to say I just want to call this function and we'll let your the engine's backend code decide which one to use. Again, personal frustration, but I also am not going to the point of running and creating a custom version of the engine, just simply because I don't want to have to keep porting my changes into a new version every time the engine updates that I want to update to. As I was mentioning, though, this build process does take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause the video again, and once the build's done and I'm back in the editor, I will be back. Alright, so the editor's loaded up. Let's just give this a quick try to make sure everything's working here. So let's hit F9, F9, just 9. So this is where our breakpoint was. We're going to just hit continue. Other breakpoint we had in there. Throw another one there because that's just after where we had an issue with that execute update from save. So I put another breakpoint just after that. So we're just going to iterate through each of these. That worked fine. No, that's on the actor component. Throw it there, I believe. Nope. So let's go there. It worked. It worked. It worked. Yeah, it's all working. So I do see a flaw in our load logic, but there we go. So it was more than likely that reference of the execute update from save was being called within the C++ logic from the C++ implementation. It created an infinite loop. So, but as you can see, all the trees are harvested and their logs are there, and the mushroom is gone from the harvest actor. Now the harvest actor, I do realize I didn't actually set up on camera. That was from, I just wanted to test to see what I needed to do with the code. So I had an idea. Let's actually open this up. I'll bring this over. So there is nothing in here whatsoever. The only thing I did was we'll go to the viewport. Apparently we have it twice. We have two harvest mesh. Harvest mesh, harvest mesh. TF harvest. Okay, that's weird. But we have it. Oh, two different spellings. I have it with ERST and. Well, either way, we'll fix that in a moment here. But all I did literally is I just added the mushroom to the harvest mesh. The permanent mesh is empty. So let me just take a look, see what is going on at a code level. Constructor, harvest mesh, harvest mesh. What is going on there? That might be a build issue because we just have the permanent mesh. Okay, maybe that is my own fault because I created that blueprint before we made some code changes. So we're going to, actually, so we don't have the issue of deleting something that's in a world, delete this. Going to delete the harvest mesh blueprint. It's one reference in memory. I'm going to force delete that. Blueprint class. Harvest mesh base actor, and then here it's dev bp harvest test. Let's open that up. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what was happening there. We had two different variants. Let's just set the harvest mesh to mushroom. Go back to our defaults, and I'm just going to say interaction test is pick mushroom. Compile that. So the reason why, just quickly, that our inventory item, I thought I'd just quickly check, has all of this in there, is we just have it defined as a actor. That is not something we are going to be using, obviously, as I mentioned when I initially set this up. That is going to be when we get to the inventory component in the next episode. So now we've fixed whatever was going on there, and I feel bad for doing that one original blueprint off camera. I try doing everything I can on camera other than some general debugging, but that is something I did and I completely forgot I had done it. So anyway, so let's go see. This is going to take a little bit to nope, what's happening here? Why are we not? Character, come on, load that up, thank you. Debug in details because we want to enable our line trace. Back in here. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have updated to 5.4.3 because I've been getting some weird behavior since I updated to that. All right, well, we'll go over here. Oh, there we go. Pick up mushroom. Or pick mushroom. We hit our interact button, in this case F. It's gone. And this was the error I mentioned earlier about how we were going to need to make some changes in the player character. As you can see, that pick mushroom text is still on the screen. So I'm going to close out of that session just by hitting escape. And we're going to hop back to our code for a second here. So we're going to go to our player character and the source file. So what is happening is we have, and I'll explain this because it may seem a little confusing to some people. So let's just minimize these. So we have these two functions here: on interact trigger overlap begin, on interact trigger overlap end, and we're using those to control the contents of a interactive or interactable actor array. And we're using that to turn on and off our ray trace. And that's just for efficiency, so we're not constantly ray tracing when we don't need to. If you're running through an open field with nothing around you to interact, save some cycles and don't use the line trace. But anyway, so what's happening is we're picking up that actor. This is being called. We're turning off the ray trace. So we're removing it because there's nothing else in there. We're removing it, and that is setting our it's turning our ray trace off. So the problem we've got there is we have this function update interaction text. Well, we are calling that, so all the way up here in our trace, we're calling that as part of our trace action. We're not calling it anywhere else. Right here, update interaction text implementation, we're calling that, and then we're assigning our interactive actor. So there's two problems there. One is we're calling this, so the very first frame of this trace, the very first frame of the trace that hits something, it's not actually correctly updating that, because we're telling the HUD to update here, but then we're setting the actor. So we actually need to move this. We actually want to put one here. Yes, we do need to call this twice. I was trying to be efficient and only call the update once, but that efficiency was actually causing, yes, it's one frame, but for some people that could be a lot, because apparently a lot of people can see the difference in a 60 FPS game that drops to like 40. Anyways, so we do have that issue though. We're turning this off, we're not doing the trace, and that is the only place we're actually updating, calling the HUD update. So we do need to call that someplace else. And what we actually want to do is add that down here. And if we enable array trace, actually, if not, we want to call it there. And what this is doing, just to explain before we hop back in and do a live code, we're just saying if we're turning the ray trace off, let's also update the HUD to get rid of any update text we have. So now we've done that, we'll hop back into the editor. We're going to do a quick save all. Yeah. And then we'll do a live code compile. No, it's opened over on my other screen again. I hate how it always opens on your primary screen. It doesn't remember its position. So as I mentioned before, with the upgrade to 5.4.3 and the inclusion of the symbol files and libraries, these builds are actually fairly slow. So I'm going to pause this and I will try to time it for when the build is live code build is back or done. I may miss that though, because it does close itself pretty quick. So I will be back as soon as this live code is finished. Alright, we are back, folks. So just quickly there, the live code actually, I don't know if it locked up or what, but it sat for a good half an hour, hadn't done anything. So closed out and dropped out of the editor, tried to rebuild in Visual Studio. That ran for about 20 minutes, wasn't building. So I actually went through and I removed all those symbol files that I had added for debugging purposes, and things are moving a lot faster now. So I will deal with that on a as needed basis. I might actually set up a separate install on a different machine just for that. But either way, so we are back in the editor and we did fix, it's been recompiled with that fix for the UI for when we pick up the harvestable actor. So we're going to just hop over here and try and get that to register. I think it's because we were too close. Yeah, there we go. It's because we're starting inside. We have to move the mushroom, so pick it up. That's still there. Did I not add that code change? Did I not save it? Oh, no, I know why. There's a second. I know exactly why. So what we need to do is go into our third person blueprint, and we're going to open that up and move it over. Come on, respond. Thank you. There we go. So what's actually there is, no, that wouldn't be it. So let me just check this. Go back to the code. And overlap. I'll put a breakpoint there. I'm going to start this again. Yeah, so we aren't showing it there because we're too close. Yeah, it's just triggered the end overlap. So okay. Move forward again. Pick mushroom. All right, bring this back. So let's step through. Interactable actors is empty. It is false. Update interaction text implementation, which is update interaction text. Let's continue from there. Okay, so let's get rid of that breakpoint. We don't need that. So why did that not fix it? The editor, open up the blueprint. Because it should be going down this path. So let's stop. I'm actually going to move this out of the way so it's not within our starting area. All right, let's run up to it. Okay, so that's triggering it, and yeah, it's going to trigger this every frame. So I'm going to okay, so it's now triggered. I moved the breakpoint just so everyone knows, because it was here. That was being triggered every frame. So I moved it here. So now it's on the get interaction text. I'm going to disable the breakpoint. Actually going to read. I need to keep that there. That's this is going to suck. I have to do this really quick. No, that's not going to work. So let's hit that. Resume. Pick the mushroom. And then we're going to go back and we're not hitting that now, so it's there's got to be an order of operations here, so stop that. Okay, so I'm just going to call that, and then I'm also going to back here, I'm going to revert my change. That might be part of it. Let's just see. No, not page down. Delete. Okay, now let's try and do a live code compile here and see if this moves any faster this time. I missed some, deleted something I shouldn't have. Oh, yeah. Why does that? Let's try that again. Save that. Try another live code. Helps if you don't delete a control character that's needed to say the function's done. Okay, so that's finished. Yeah. Okay, let's see if that's the reason. So remove these breakpoints I threw just so we don't hit. So I can actually do this. So we're going to run up, trigger, pick it up, pick up mushroom. think there's actually one other thing I can do here. I'm going to stop that plan editor. I just want to check before I say let's do this. On interact, where did I put that function? On interact. So we will just call that after we execute interact. See if that makes a difference here. And we'll do one final live code update here. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this fixes the issue. Yeah, it's surprising how much those symbol files actually slow everything down. So we'll try this one last time. Still not okay. Let's take a look here. Why is that not? Let's type enter here. It's not being cleared. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Okay, so that is here. Execute interact. I'm trying to think how we could have fixed this. Because my understanding is this would have fixed it. But actually what we can do... Let's see. Will this fix it? Force one last trace to reset everything. And doing that, we can get rid of this one. We're going to add that if statement in. Why are you not adding that in through predicted? Because I screwed up the typing the first. Be enable ray. What? Okay, I sometimes really hate IntelliSense. Okay, we'll try that. Hopefully this is it, because we are getting close to my normal. Oh, stop the play in editor, that might help. Let's try a live code again, just to make sure live code's complete. All right, so play, interact, so interact factor is none. Should get one added in, yeah, it's there. Pick up mushroom. There we go. Okay, for whatever reason, and I need to go and re-look at my code, but I'm pretty sure, well, I know what the cause was, is the interaction actor wasn't being cleared. And because even though it's still there, and it's got collision set to null, or no collision, the line trace itself may not be happening, but the interaction actor was still set. Now, let's see, does this affect our door? Open. Nope, we can still... It's in there twice. How did that get in there twice? Oh, the door and the... Okay, there's... Yeah, the door and the door frame are both triggering it. I thought that was a map. Or is it just a T array? Sorry, now I'm a player character, wrong one. Questioning my own code for a second. Interactable actor. Oh, it's a T array. It's not a map, so they're not unique. Well, anyways, folks, I'm not going to worry about cleaning that up this episode. We are getting to my episode length. As I've promised in several episodes before this, next episode will be the start of the inventory system. Might take me a little bit of time to get that episode recorded and out, just because I do need to look over quite a lot of my old code and figure out just what in there is reusable. Inventory system is one of the ones I've struggled at a few different times, but I know my last attempt was pretty solid. So, anyways, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As always, any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you again, and until next episode.